Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take stacks of sources, do the heavy lifting, and give you that essential shortcut to really understanding a topic.
Yeah, we're not just reading from the textbook here. We're kind of dissecting the whole syllabus for you.
And today we're diving into a career arc that's, frankly, one of the most surprising and, I think, creatively disciplined in modern Hollywood.
We're talking about William Michael Zabka, born October 20, 1965.
Now, if you're like most people, that name immediately brings up one image.
Johnny Lawrence, absolutely. The blonde antagonist from The Karate Kid, iconic.
But the reason we're doing this deep dive today is because there's so much more to his story than just, sweep the leg.
Way more. This is a guy who became an Academy Award-nominated filmmaker, a producer, a star who really took control of his own legacy, his own narrative, to redefine his entire career. It's fascinating.
So our mission today is to break down that journey, looking at it in like three big acts.
Okay.
Act 1, the accidental icon, becoming the face of that specific kind of 80s bad guy.
Right.
Act 2, the filmmaker, stepping back, focusing, gaining that serious creative cred.
The pivot.
And Act 3, the comeback, the self-aware star and producer taking back his most famous role, but on his own terms.
And maybe the best place to start, the nugget that kind of sets the whole stage, is this. The guy known worldwide for being this karate bully had absolutely zero formal martial arts training when he started. None.
That's just wild, isn't it? Talk about Hollywood magic or, projection.
Completely.
And it really frames the big question for us, doesn't it?
Right.
How does an actor typecast who basically had to fake the main skill for his breakout role?
Right.
How does he navigate the next few decades to become this, critically validated creative professional, an Oscar nominee?
Well, I think the key is realizing his foundation wasn't really acting, and it definitely wasn't karate initially. It was the actual making of movies.
Okay. So let's unpack that. Where did he come from?
Let's go right back to the beginning, because, you might think the Karate Kid actors were just kids plucked from nowhere.
That's the assumption, yeah.
But Zabka's background, he wasn't stumbling into the film world. His family was, steeped in it. Production royalty, almost.
Really? Tell us more about that.
Okay, so his father, Stan Zabka, he was a director, a writer, and a composer.
Wow. Okay. That's already impressive.
But here's what's really interesting for our deep dive. Stan also worked as a production manager. We see him listed on films like that Chuck Norris movie from '82, Forced Vengeance.
Wait, Forced Vengeance? Chuck Norris. So a direct connection to the action genre right there.
Exactly. And being a production manager, that's not just the creative side. That's the nuts and bolts.
Logistics, scheduling, budget, knowing how the sausage gets made, basically.
Precisely. That's a really deep understanding of filmmaking from the ground up. And it wasn't just his dad. His mother, Nancy, was also heavily involved. She was a business liaison, a producer, a production assistant.
So both parents knew the business inside and out.
Yeah.
Creative, business, production.
Yeah.
The whole package.
Yeah. So when you know that, his early ambition makes perfect sense.
Right. He graduates high school in '83.
Yep. El Camino Real Charter High.
And then he briefly goes to Cal State Northridge. And what's his major?
Film. He was aiming for film, probably thinking, directing, following in his dad's footsteps.
But that plan kind of got derailed, huh?
Almost instantly. The Karate Kid comes out in 1984.
Yeah.
And it was literally his first movie role.
First one. Wow.
And boom, immediate massive fame. Playing Johnny Lawrence, the main antagonist, it just pulled him right out of the classroom.
And straight into that core irony we mentioned, the skill that defined him.
Yeah. Cast as this super intense karate master.
But no training.
No formal training at the time of filming. What he did have, though, and this is crucial.
What was it?
He was an accomplished weapon.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Wrestling takes incredible discipline, right?
Yeah.
Stamina, body control, leverage.
Absolutely. It's very physical.
So that foundation gave him the physical ability to, look convincing in the fight scenes, even if he didn't know the specific Tang Soo Do forms yet.
So the discipline was there.
Yeah.
The physicality was there, just not the specific martial art.
Right. He wasn't faking the effort, just the style initially.
And clearly it made an impression on him personally.
Okay.
Because the sources say the role itself pushed him to actually study Tang Soo Do after the movie.
He did. He didn't just walk away. He embraced it. earned a green belt eventually.
That's to it.
And you have to think that wrestling background probably made him more open to learning it, more capable of picking it up quickly. His dedication wasn't just superficial.
But playing that villain so well, so convincingly, that created this huge shadow for him, didn't it? A shadow that kind of became a cage.
Oh, definitely. And that leads us straight into the next phase, which was just relentless typecasting.
Once you nail that alpha male bully role in a huge hit.
Especially in the 80s.
Hollywood just wants you to keep doing that.
Right.
Put the headband back on.
That was totally the reality of the studio system then. Zabka became a known quantity, reliable for that specific part.
So, post-Karate Kid, if you needed that, like smug, good-looking, probably rich bad guy.
He was your first call.
And you see it in the credits, right? It's like a checklist of 80s archetypes.
Totally. He's Greg Tolan in Just One of the Guys. That was 85.
Right.
Same year, he's Jack, Audrey's kind of jerky jock boyfriend in National Lampoon's European Vacation.
Perfect stereotype casting.
And then, maybe the most famous one after Karate Kid, Chaz Osborne in Back to School, 1986.
Against Rodney Dangerfield. Another entitled antagonist.
Yeah. So for basically the second half of the 80s, his screen persona was pretty much locked in. The guy making the hero's life miserable.
And it wasn't just movies either. He had a decent TV role too, didn't he?
He did. On CBS, The Equalizer. From 86 to 89, he was in about 12 episodes.
Playing who?
Scott McCall, the son of the main character, Robert McCall.
Okay, so he was working steadily, which is great for an actor.
Absolutely. It's a success. But there was a downside. A pretty significant personal cost to always playing the villain.
What do you mean?
Well, this is a really important detail the sources bring up. Zabka himself mentioned being, quote, hassled in public.
Seriously? By random people?
Yeah, because he was so effective in those roles, people couldn't separate the actor from the character.
Wow. Imagine dealing with that as a young guy. You get famous, but the fame means strangers are angry at you for something a fictional character did.
It's a heavy psychological toll. You can see why he'd want to get away from that.
That makes total sense. Yeah. And it perfectly explains the shift we see heading into the 90s.
Yeah.
If people are literally confronting you on the street,
they need to change.
Your career survival, maybe even your sanity, depends on trying to dismantle that image.
Yeah.
Break out of that box.
Exactly. He had to redefine himself. And the only real way to do that was to, well, step back from those kinds of roles, step back from the high visibility, and lean into the skills he'd been absorbing his whole life.
The filmmaking skills.
Yeah.
From his parents, from that time at Cal State Northridge.
Right. The typecasting challenge essentially forced him to make that pivot, a necessary pivot.
Which brings us to this really interesting phase of his career, the one that, honestly, most people probably don't know anything about.
Right. Almost invisible to the public, but maybe the most crucial phase for him creatively.
The focused creative pivot. This wasn't him just like fading away.
No. It was a deliberate choice. Get behind the camera, dedicate himself to the craft he actually set out to pursue in the first place.
And we need to stress, this wasn't a short break. This was like a 2-decade commitment, right?
Pretty much. Through the 90s and the 2000s, his acting roles were mostly in independent film.
Lower profile stuff.
Yeah, much lower profile. Less chance of being stuck in that same old archetype. And it gave him the time and space to really study and practice filmmaking, writing, directing.
Let's talk about those indie films for a second. Because that circuit in the 90s, the direct-to-video market, that wasn't glamorous.
Not at all. Grueling, maybe? You look at his filmography then, you see titles like Shoot Fighter, Fight to the Death.
He was in that.
And the sequel, Shoot Fighter 2. Then there were films like Mindstorm, Antibody.
Okay, so definitely B-movie territory genre stuff.
Yeah. Action, sci-fi, thrillers. Mostly direct-to-video. But these roles were important.
How so?
Well, one, they kept him working, kept money coming in. Two, they let him keep acting, keep honing that craft, but without the intense public scrutiny.
And three, presumably, they gave him time off set.
Exactly. Time to write, time to maybe shoot smaller things, build his directing reel. That whole indie scene was basically the bridge connecting that massive 80s fame to the creative validation he got later.
And that validation really came with one specific project, didn't it? His magnum opus as a filmmaker.
Yes, the short film Most.
Which means The Bridge in Czech.
How fitting is that title? It perfectly mirrors his own journey, his transition.
So Most comes out in 2003. And this is what puts him on the map as a serious filmmaker, completely separate from Johnny Lawrence. He wrote it and produced it.
And we need to give you some context here. This wasn't some quick little project shot in LA over a weekend.
No.
The sources are clear. It was shot entirely on location. in the Czech Republic and Poland.
Wow. Okay, that's ambitious for a short film. International shoot, logistics.
That's a lot of planning, definitely. It signals serious intent.
And the story itself. Was it anything like his 80s roles?
Not even remotely. Most is this powerful, quite tragic drama. It's about a bridge operator and his young son and a devastating choice he has to make.
Okay, so themes of sacrifice, consequence, heavy stuff.
Really profound themes. Irreversible actions. Intense moral weight.
It's almost like, if you think about the impulsive, kind of shallow nature of Johnny Lawrence in the original film,
Yeah.
this is the complete opposite. It's dealing with deep, complex consequences, showing real maturity as a writer.
And that maturity, that depth, it got noticed immediately.
Where did it premiere?
Sundance. The Sundance Film Festival in 2003.
Wow. For a short film, that's like the holy grail, right? The ultimate stamp of approval.
Pretty much. But the recognition didn't stop there. It just kept rolling in.
Well,
Most won Best of Festival at places like the Palm Springs International Festival of Short Films, Dances with Films. It got the Crystal Heart Award at the Heartland International Film Festival.
and he shared those awards, right, with his co-producer.
Yep, with Bobby Garabedian. Which is important, too. It shows he wasn't just a writer-director, but also a capable producer who could manage a complex international project and see it through.
Okay, Sundance, multiple festival awards, and then came the big one.
Then came the climax of this whole pivot. In 2004, William Zabka was nominated for an Academy Award
An Oscar nomination.
for Best Live-Action Short Film, for most.
Let's just pause on that for a second. The guy who was famous for being the bully in The Karate Kid who got hassled on the street
Yeah.
is now standing there, recognized by the Academy for this profound, serious piece of filmmaking.
It's an incredible arc, one of the best career redemption stories you'll find. It completely validated that passion he had back in film school, the one likely sparked by his parents. It proved it was real and that he'd put in the work to develop it.
The pivot worked. He broke out of the typecasting box.
Completely. He wasn't just Johnny Lawrence anymore. He was an Oscar-nominated writer and producer.
And did he keep directing after that? Did he leverage that knob?
He did. He used that credibility, that technical skill to keep working behind the camera even after the immediate Oscar buzz died down a bit.
What kind of work?
We see him move into commercials, music videos, smart moves to keep the skills sharp and earn a living directing.
Any big names?
Yeah, he directed commercials for clients like Little Tykes, Verizon, and he did 2 pretty big music videos for the country band Rascal Flatts.
Oh, yeah. Which ones?
Why Wait back in 2010 and then Years If You Want It in 2017.
Okay, so consistent professional directing work, building that resume.
Exactly. It kept him in the game, kept him respected as a filmmaker. So when the chance came to step back into the acting spotlight in a major way,
He was ready.
he was ready. And he was coming back from a position of real strength, not desperation. He understood the whole process now, writing, producing, directing the award circuit. He wasn't just an actor for hire anymore.
That creative maturity is so key to understanding this next act, isn't it? The big return.
Absolutely. Which brings us to this really savvy, self-aware phase that kind of paved the way for Cobra Kai.
Right. He didn't just jump straight back into playing Johnny Lawrence seriously. There was this period of almost reclaiming the character through humor first.
Yeah, it was like a strategic perception reset. And it started quite early, actually, back in 2007.
What happened then?
He directed and starred in a music video for a band called No More Kings, the song title.
Don't tell me.
Sweep the Leg.
No way. That's brilliant.
It's fantastic. He plays this caricature of himself, still totally obsessed with being Johnny Lawrence, living in a trailer, clinging to the glory days.
Total meta parody.
And crucially, he got cameos from other Karate Kid actors in it. Martin Kove, Ralph Macchio.
So it signaled like, hey, I'm in on the joke. We can laugh about this now.
Exactly. It softened that old image, made him seem approachable, self-aware.
And that self-referential thing continued, right?
Yeah.
In other comedies.
It did. He had a funny cameo in Hot Tub Time Machine in 2010.
Right. Rick Steelman.
But probably the most effective stepping stone, the one that really primed the audience for Cobra Kai, was his run on How I Met Your Mother.
Ah, yes. That was genius.
He guested in Season 8, then came back as a recurring character in Season 9, playing himself, or, well, a fictionalized version of William Zabka.
And the whole joke was Barney Stinson insisting that Johnny was the real hero of The Karate Kid, not Daniel LaRusso.
Precisely. It actively encouraged the audience to rethink the movie, to see Johnny's perspective, maybe even sympathize with him.
So clever. It laid the groundwork perfectly by the time Cobra Kai was announced.
Which was August 2017.
The audience was already sort of prepped. They'd laughed with him about the role, and they'd started to see Johnny not just as a villain, but as maybe misunderstood.
Exactly. They were ready for the joke, and now they were ready for the potential depth. The timing was perfect.
So Cobra Kai gets announced, initially for YouTube Red, remember that?
Yep, before its massive explosion on Netflix later.
And this wasn't just a simple sequel or reboot. It was a total flip of the script, focusing on Johnny Lawrence as the main character.
And here, this is maybe the single most important detail about this whole third act for you to grasp. Zabka wasn't just starring in it.
Right. He was also
a co-executive producer alongside Ralph Macchio.
Okay, let's unpack that term, co-executive producer, because it can mean different things. On a big show like this, what does that title give him, especially with his filmmaking background?
It means real power, real creative ownership. Think about the contrast with his 80s experience, young actor, typecast, probably very little say. As a co-EP, he's in the room for the big decisions. Budget talks, scheduling, overall story direction, casting. He's not just getting scripts handed to him, he's actively shaping Johnny's journey.
So all that experience from writing, producing, directing most, managing those complex shoots, understanding story structure.
That's the leverage. That's what allowed him to command that title and ensure he had a real hand in crafting the narrative. It validates that whole detour behind the camera.
It really does. So the show kicks off, 33 years after the original movie?
Yeah, finds Johnny down on his luck, kind of adrift, and he tries to find purpose by reopening the Cobra Kai dojo.
Which, of course, reignites the rivalry with Daniel LaRusso, who's now successful and maybe a little smug himself.
The whole premise hinges on exploring Johnny's side, his potential for redemption. And that required some serious dramatic acting chops from Zabka.
And by all accounts, he absolutely delivered. The reviews, the audience reaction, huge praise for his performance.
Overwhelmingly positive. People talked about his ability to convey real vulnerability, humor, regret. That struggle. It was the dramatic depth that nobody saw in the 80s because the roles were so one-note.
He finally got to show what he could do.
And the recognition followed. Nominations for Critics' Choice Super Awards?
Yeah.
The show itself got an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Comedy Series.
And that MTV Award.
Yeah, the MTV Movie and TV Award in 2020 for, I think it was Hero to Zero.
That's perfect. It literally sums up the entire journey. Character arc, career arc.
It really does. And his public image is completely transformed now. He's doing major talk shows like Fallon.
He was on Password recently too, right? November 2024.
Yeah. He's back in the mainstream, but on his own terms. Yeah. Respected.
And look how he engages with the legacy now.
Yep.
He even did a cameo as Johnny in that Karate Kid Legends movie in 2025, right at the end.
Yep. He's embraced it, but he's in the driver's seat now. He's not just playing a part, he's co-piloting the whole franchise. It's the ultimate example of turning that typecasting limitation into a platform for creative control.
Okay, so we've covered the three big acts of his professional life. But let's quickly touch on his personal life during all this and maybe highlight some more of that work from the quiet years.
Sure. On the personal front, pretty stable. He married Stacy Zabka in 2008. They have 2 kids.
So that family stability probably helped during that intense period of focusing on filmmaking and producing.
You'd imagine so. It provides a grounding element when you're taking creative risks.
And here's that detail I love, bringing it all full circle. Since coming back as Johnny for Cobra Kai, he started training seriously again. Karate, Tang Soo Do, regularly.
That's amazing. The skill he originally had to fake for the role
is now a genuine, ongoing part of his life. Because the role demands it again, but also you sense because he respects the craft now.
That's real commitment. And apparently he keeps pretty active generally, surfing, scuba diving, rafting, which probably doesn't hurt when you're doing fight choreography in your 50s.
Definitely helps. Okay, let's do that quick look back in the 90s, 2000s filmography again, just to remind people how much he was working, even if it wasn't high profile.
Right. We mentioned the Shoot Fighter movies. He played a character named Ruben in those.
Okay.
There was a sci-fi horror called Mindstorm, the thriller Antibody, The Power Within.
So lots of genre titles, mostly indie direct-to-video stuff.
Predominantly, yeah. It shows incredible persistence, doesn't it? These weren't glamorous jobs, but they kept him in the industry, kept him practicing his craft, and presumably funded those filmmaking dreams.
And now his connection to Johnny Lawrence even extends into gaming, right?
It does. He voiced Johnny for the Cobra Kai video games that came out in 2020 and 2022. He's really built this whole ecosystem around the character's return.
While having that Oscar nomination in his back pocket the whole time? Incredible.
So if you're listening and thinking about career pivots, about persistence, about dealing with being pigeonholed, Zabka's story is just packed with lessons.
Okay, let's summarize the whole arc. Act 1.
The Accidental Icon, 1984. Huge fame from The Karate Kid, but immediate severe typecasting, public hassles, professional limits.
Act 2.
The Serious Filmmaker. That long pivot, leveraging his family background, his film studies, culminating in the 2004 Oscar nomination for Most, proving his depth outside the shadow of Johnny.
And Act 3.
The reimagined star and producer. Starting around 2018 with Cobra Kai, returning to the role, but this time as a co-executive producer, using his hard-won filmmaking knowledge to take creative control, redefine the character, and reshape his entire career narrative on his terms.
It's really a masterclass in turning a potential career killer typecasting into leverage.
Totally. When that door to leading man roles seemed shut because he was just the bully, he didn't just wait. He built a whole different door, writing, directing, producing.
Getting that Oscar nomination.
That validated the new path. And paradoxically, that validation, that experience was exactly what allowed him to walk back through the first door decades later, but this time as the guy running the show, not just the actor taking orders.
It's such a powerful story of resilience and really strategic creativity. Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
We've seen how Zabka earned serious artistic respect, that Oscar nom, by deliberately moving away from his initial fame and focusing on filmmaking.
Right. But then he used that original fame, that iconic character, as the launchpad for his biggest success as a producer and star later on.
So here's the question. If playing an iconic character gives you this massive global platform, how much does that initial fame actually help or hinder serious artistic pursuits down the line, especially decades later?
Think about it. Was someone like Zabka taken seriously by the Academy in spite of being Johnny Lawrence? Or did being Johnny Lawrence, ironically, give him the access, the resources, maybe even the chip on his shoulder needed to make something as ambitious as Most happened in the first place?
It's a fascinating tension. The ultimate 80s bully becomes the Oscar-nominated director. How much did one enable the other?
Something to think about. Now that's a deep dive completed.
We'll catch you on the next one.